Hail, Burroughs fans, wherever you are, and welcome to the 2012 Centennial Dum-Dum, right here in the middle of August, and hosted by the L.A. suburbs and Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated in Tarzana, which is right next door to Woodland Hills and the Marriott Center, where this convention is taking place. Centennial. Wow. This means that John Carter is 100 years old, and it means that Tarzan is 100 years old, and it means that Edgar Rice Burroughs is 137 years old, and it means that I am 81 years old, and oh, please forgive me for not introducing myself. I am George T. McWhorter, the donor and curator of the Edgar Rice Burroughs Memorial Collection at the University of Louisville Library in Louisville, Kentucky, which has over 200,000 books and magazines and toys and games and correspondence and paraphernalia about Edgar Rice Burroughs. You know, Louisville is probably best known as the home of the Kentucky Derby, but I'm hoping that someday it will also be known for the Burroughs Memorial Collection. Meanwhile, there are scads and scores of Burroughs fans here this weekend, and I'm told that there are at least 25 special guests, chief among whom is primatologist Jane Goodall, who will give the keynote speech at the annual banquet. Thank you, Jane. I'm a fan of yours for life. And of course, we have Jim Sullis, who's the president of Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated, and his wonderful staff from Tarzana. And we have Al and his daughter, Allison Bowl, who are famous for their Morgan City documentary, and Bill and Suan Hillman, who are the best information specialists since Adam and Eve. And, of course, we have at least 3 Tarzan actors here, Denny Miller and Ron Ely and Casper Van Dien. And, of course, we have some marvelous, super-duper artists like, who we got? Bill Stout, who's been here many, many times and illustrated many of the Burroughs bulletins, and Tom Yates, and Dan Parsons, and Tony DeVito, and Joe Musso, who would be glad to show you his Tarzan collection if you ask him nicely and promise not to cut yourself. And of course, we have a whole galaxy of great Tarzan and Burroughs writers, including, let's see, Bob Zeuschner, our bibliographer, and Andy Briggs, and Brian Bonet. Brian has just finished publishing a marvelous biography of Enid Markey, the first Jane of the Tarzan movies. And we have Michael Sellers. I don't know if he's any kin to Peter Sellers. And Stan Galloway, and Jerry Schneider, and Jim Van Hise, and of course, the great Scott Tracy Griffin, who is just putting the finishing touches on his Tarzan Centennial book, which you will need to get for your collections as a memento of this wonderful occasion. And rumor has it that he's working on another book on Barzoom. So we're all on tenterhooks waiting for that to happen. And of course, we have some members of Burroughs' own family, including his grandson, John Ralston Burroughs, and grandson Danton Burroughs' widow, the lovely Linda Burroughs, and her 2 gorgeous daughters, Deja Thoris and Lana Jane, great granddaughters of the Wizard of Tarzana. And last, but certainly not least, we have the ghosts of all of the great Burroughs fans for the last 100 years, like J. Allen St. John and Vern Hogarth and Vern Coryell and Stan Vinson and Bob Hyde and Henry Hardy Hines and Erwin Porges and Frank Frazetta and my good friend Gray Morrow, who painted me into the Tarzan Sunday Funnies. And they're all gathered around us like the spirits of the great Jedi masters who appeared at the end of Star Wars to congratulate Luke Skywalker. You know, I've always been a very, very imaginative kid. And Edgar Rice Burroughs was the best thing that ever happened to me. I just loved his inspiration and his philosophy, and especially his sense of humor. He was always poking fun at mankind, whom he called those two-footed harbingers of strife. He guided me through 4 college degrees and through 4 professions, including a teacher of English in Florida and a dressman in Philadelphia and an opera singer in New York and, of course, a librarian here in Kentucky. I could never have gotten through life without Burroughs. It makes me very sad not to be there in person for this wonderful occasion, and especially to miss seeing my tried and true Burroughs friends over the years, like Bill Ross and Mike Conran and Pete Ogden and Rudy Sigmund, and the list is long, 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 long. And another bummer is the fact that I'll miss all the wonderful things that are happening, like the commemorative stamp. You know, I started writing to the committee of the commemorative stamp people back in 1950. That's the year that Burroughs left us for Barsoom. And I was begging them to give us a Burroughs stamp. And now, 62 years later, the stamp is finally here. And my dream is realized, and I can die peacefully. However, as John Carter would say, I still live. And as Tarzan would say, Umgawa.